ओम नमो भगवते श्री अरविंदाय। ओम आनंदमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे। In JP Nagar, we are having each year this Savitri Yagna now for about 15 years. And somehow, initially, I was quite intimately connected with it. But now, at least on occasion, I do visit, come here on this particular date. Last time, we had taken up a particular theme of Savitri based on the first line of Savitri. In fact, first few lines of Savitri, if you remember, we did it. It was an hour before the gods awake. Starting with that, we started. Today, uh, I picked up another line, which is the last, one of the lines of the last page, page 724, where to feel love and oneness is to live. Like, yeah. This is a very, I found it extremely challenging. And I'm myself not at all in any way satisfied with the way we're going to present it or the way perhaps it can be done. I don't think at all it can be attempted. I'm trying to attempt it knowing the hazards of communicating this particular aspect and because this concept of oneness about which Sri Aurobindo himself got initiated by from Sri Krishna in Alipur uh, is itself was very intriguing. And it was only Sri Aurobindo who could perhaps decode that and perhaps go forward from those instructions. What we read about Sri Aurobindo's uh, Sri Krishna's comment on Sri Krishna's uh, statements in Alipur jail to Sri Aurobindo was very minuscule aspect. We do find much more in various other books. Like when you read Supreme, you will find Supreme has some certain places quoted this aspect of Alipur jail episode in a more uh, slightly more details. Not much has come out. Maybe Sri Aurobindo himself has not published it. That's precisely the reason. Otherwise, who will know from where? So that is why this is the line that is most challenging line as to what is love and what is oneness and what is to live. This living is divine life, living divine life. It is not an ordinary human life. Living the divine life is the thing that being said in this slide. This is the last page, as I said, and this is what is where this appears. It appears in the epilogue where Savitri was asked by a sage at the end of the day when she comes back with Satyavaman and when she meets the entourage of the king to receive her, or they had come out searching for her, and they meet still in the jungle. And there was a sage who noticed a change in Savitri and Satyavan. And he asked me, what is this change I am seeing in you? So, in context of that, at one place, Savitri has said, "What I have seen and know is to feel love, and oneness is to live." So, this to express this divine love and to express what is oneness is really extremely difficult, at least for me. But this is the crux of Sri Aurobindo's teaching. Nothing is more important than getting hold of this particular thing. Without this, we will not be able to move anywhere. So, what we briefly want to go through a very short. These are the steps through which we will try to see what he is saying. Expression of divine love in the creation, divine love and ignorance. Love alone can love and turn matter to spirit stuff. And lotus heart of love. So these are the perhaps broadly we will cover these topics in this sense, grouping them under that. Expression of divine love uh, in the creation. Expression of divine love in the creation is actually something that goes without saying because we do not use the term creation in the sense of this word. We call it as manifestation. Uh, it is not a creation, it's a manifestation. So, God did not create the universe, God became the universe. Now, if He became the universe, then He is very much inside this object, inside this text, inside you, me, everybody, the table, the laptop, everywhere, in the trees outside. Now, we have read this everywhere that God became this. Sri Aurobindo has emphasized this aspect 100 times, and his devotees have expressed. Underground devotees, means after very direct contact with him, they have expressed it 1,000 times. And so we have to understand this oneness aspect also very clearly to the extent possible, because we can only understand to the extent we can master it. We are ready to master it. We are prepared to master it. To that extent, we can. Secondly, this aspect of love is also very important because we always uh, mistake love to be the way we understand as human love. Is it slightly echoing? Is there an echo? Yes. So, yeah. Can I be heard now? Okay. So, uh, we always understand love in terms of the way we have, the way we experience it. Divine love is not that. How is divine love? Divine love is something when you love, you don't expect anything back. No transaction, no commerce. No transaction, no commerce. How is it possible? Is it possible? It is not possible. Even your normal management, the other day I was talking to somebody without a motivation uh, being given. How can you work in the office? There must be a promotion. There must be a pay hike. There must be some facilities. There must be something plus, 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 plus for you to be satisfied to let it deliver more. So the concept of management by values came up. There's a wonderful book published by I.M. Calcutta on management of values, where he quotes extensively from Sri Aurobindo and Bhagavad Gita. He is a professor of uh, I.M. Calcutta. So that is management by values. We are still not understanding that. Still, we have to see who is paying more. I will join that company. The moment I get a return, I will eat this because I like it. I will not eat that because that is bitter. So this Sukha Dukkha, what Gita says, Sita Ushna, this combination, this dichotomy, etc., is the problem. So we are not been able to get beyond this. Sri Aurobindo puts it just differently. He says this is a gav of Anand. This is a gav of Anand. The word he uses is very interesting. He says, uh, when eternity multiplied itself, it actually put this gav on it as on eternity, all creations. This gav of mistaking it to be something else, a mask. And we always try to see in that sense. But he is actually there. He is actually there. He is really there. And this understanding, how really is this really, actually comes up in everything of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, and also in our ancient scriptures. Whichever Upanishad you take up, you will find out that this is actually the vibrating oneness is the actual essence of all Upanishads. The all Upanishads is this oneness, oneness, oneness. What is this oneness? We have not been able to understand. We may be able to know it a little bit intellectually, but to live in that condition is what is going beyond our present limits. So we have to understand this first. First, we have to understand this, what it can be, how is it so, what does the master say, what does the mother say, all that. So to suggest this topic, turn this, come to this topic, I purpose had to take a little bit of, I combined these two master topics here with them, topics of here. From these books, I've burned out certain things, and said, I have said, I have collected certain things. And as at the very opening, I said that what I'm doing, I'm trying to put across is a topic which is beyond comprehension, which is beyond my understanding, and it is yet very inviting, very tempting. I find that this is what, if I don't know, perhaps I have not understood ABCD of here. You read anybody, K.D. Setna, you read Supreme, you read anybody, this is the you find it most difficult. We can say oneness, oneness, oneness. What is that oneness? Can I see it? Do I see the divine in you and me who is inside? No, Sri Aurobindo saw it in the table when people talked to him. Niranbaran told him, He says, I'm seeing Brahman here. What do you talk about Brahman? I'm seeing here. So that is the state. That is the distance to go for us. So we will see what we can, and perhaps this will inspire us to go more into this subject. Uh, so this is what Savitri says to the sage, which I told you, that to feel love and oneness is to live. And we have seen everywhere in the very first canto on which I spoke in the last Savitri Yagna, I said this is the second line from there. And last in the last class we discussed last talk 1 year back at the Savitri Yagna, we talked whole talk was covered on the first line. Then we find these lines almost one felt opaque, impenetrable in the somber symbol of her eyeless views, the abysm of the unbodied infinite, a fathomless zero occupied the world. Now, so in that most tenebrous womb of the creation, in that womb of creation, which womb is the creation? It is that utter blackness, darkness, and the darkness, folds of darkness in which folds of light is embedded. In that darkness, even there, we have divine love is secretly at work. This divine love came from the Supreme. We know that story. I'm not going to repeat that. We have talked about it 100 times in all our talks. So this is a that was a holocaust. That was a holocaust of the Supreme in the form of love that came into inconscient. And that is the divine love that works secretly inside all the time. That is the love which is divine love. And that divine love, when it came into the inconscient, obviously it did not expect anything in return because it was divine love. And there was none to return anything. There was none to return anything. So that is the measure of divine love. We 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 don't do this. I mean, really, we must ask ourselves that we do it or we don't do it. We really don't do it. Suppose you go to give some money in the hundi. Now, suppose I want to not mention myself that I am giving. I don't want anyone to see that I am giving. Unknown. Even if I have given some money in the hundi, in absence of anybody, I feel elated that, okay, see, without showing anybody, I've given. That itself, Sri Aurobindo says, is a cheating. So we have to be ruthlessly true. We have to be ruthless with ourselves, not with anybody else. So this is the gap. You know, when we analyze the gap analysis when you do as to where I am and where I have to go, what is the distance to be traveled, what are the steps to be taken. So this is the problem, and we have the divine person, the divine always working. And so even in the desert, we have some flowers, and the flower that's said to bloom even in the desert is this pomegranate flower. And uh, we uh, see this that there is God everywhere. We find these lines in Savitri: on earth by the will of the arch intelligence, on earth by the will of this arch intelligence which is working in the inconscient, we find that things are moving there. And magic of percept joined the concept art and lent to each object an interpreting name. Idea was disguised in the body's artistry, and by a strange atomic laws of mystic, a frame was made in which the sense could put its symbol picture of the universe. You see, this used to at least puzzle me quite a lot, this line. That's why I wanted to bring and put this puzzle here so that we all can contribute and learn. I'm learning every day, every moment from everybody. You know, development of self-consciousness. There is a book called Cosmic Consciousness by Robert Maurice uh, Bucke, B-U-C-K-E. E may be silent. It's about 400 page long book. I've got only a soft copy of this book. It's a very good book to know how the consciousness part that we talk about consciousness, that consciousness aspect or the awareness or consciousness or the knowledge, whatever we call it, the way we call it, slowly developed. He has beautifully described over about 10, 20 pages in the initial phase of the book that what is self-consciousness and how does it develop. We have read in Upanishads, you know, uh, Nama Rupa, everything takes comes out and in the form of name. At first the name and the form next. First the name, Nama, and then the Rupa form takes place after the name. Because the truth of the being has got to be there in the name. So here Mr. Booke, he says, first man developed percepts. He had no concepts. It is after layers and layers and layers. I'm talking about the consciousness growth. Another aspect by another author. How has he handled it? He has said layers and layers over billions of years have come, and the concept, the percept has developed. And when there is a standardization process that takes place, say after a millennia, then concepts come up. It is something the difference that we can say roughly like arithmetic and algebra. Algebra gives a formula a plus b whole square is equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab. Anything you put as a value of a and value of b, you get this result. Before algebra came in, you had arithmetic. So you could calculate 2 plus 4 whole square is something. And you would come to that result. But when standardization aspect came, when I came to know that when there's a four-legged animal, it can be a horse, it can be a cow, it can be a donkey, it can be a goat. So we considered what Bhartahari in our, our country, he developed is the concept of jati. These things belong to one group, one concept. He is not talking about that, but he's saying he's coming that this is how it is exactly developed. Subsequently, other things came up, and then we got this aspect of self consciousness developed. What is self-consciousness? Was it there in the horse? What is there in the dog? What is there in the crocodile? Self-consciousness is, as per his definition, is like, say, for example, if there is a tree in front, the elephant knows that there is a tree in front. It knows that there is a tree in front, but does it know that it knows? He says that man knows. When man evolves, then he knows that he knows. This is self-consciousness. And this self-consciousness has to then grow to cosmic consciousness in us. And that cosmic consciousness is what happened to Sri Aurobindo in Alipurduar, from where we began our talk. This was explained to him by Sri Aurobindo, Sri Krishna, through various ways. So this arch intelligence or the supreme wisdom, or we call mother, or whatever we call it, that comes down and starts working in this fashion over the years. For example, sense of color. Sense of color, which color sense came first? What came next? What came next? The sense of color also has come at different time in our concepts as we grew up from stone to this phase. So this is how it happened. So because how does it happen is this. So we have also seen that when Savitri, I'm going to jumping with the whole Savitri from place to place. So you will pardon me and stop me at any stage. I requested for an interactive session, but somehow the response did not come. Of course, please do stop me. Tell me. Yes, yes, anytime. You always do what you always do in the class. Why not here? So we have this when Satyavan and Savitri met at the destined meeting place, we find that Savitri bends down as if inclined before some gracious god who was out of his mist of greatness shone to feel the beauty his adorers ours. She bowed and touched his feet with worshipping hands. Now, one would feel when somebody reads Savitri for the first time, he has already come on the stages. He has not met Satyavan. We have not first reading, we do not know who is Satyavan. We will come to know Satyavan much later. We know Savitri, how great she is, and why is Savitri bending down to touch the feet of Satyavan there in the forest, in the first meeting. This is an important message in Savitri also. You don't have to grow only on one side, you can grow through nature. And Satyavan had grown through nature. That Savitri can detect because there is a sense of oneness in her. Now he bent to her and took into his own, kindly mind his words, as if a whole rich world suddenly possessed, wedded to all, wedded all. He had been become himself. And in inexhaustible joy, met his alone, he gathered all Savitri into his clasp. So he did not allow her to bend down further. She held her and clasped her. Now, what has happened? How is it this identity came up? How was this identity came up suddenly on reaching the place? Uh, they're meeting for the first time. They're meeting for the first time. And in that identity, because both of them have grown to such extent in their inner consciousness that they have been able to flow into each other. The good being of one can flow into the being of another. That has happened in this epic. You will find 100 times it has been brought out by Sri Aurobindo. So we find that this force of being is inherent in the existence. This force of being is inherent in existence. Here, this we have to get back to this idea. No escape from this. If we don't know, we have kept Sri Aurobindo arm's distance. So that is why from this concept and percept to concept, concept to intellect, intellect to self-consciousness, and subsequently to cosmic consciousness, that is the line that is to develop. So the force of existence is inherent, and it is the nature of this force either to remain static or to be dynamic. The nature of this force inside is got the choice to be static or dynamic. Sri Aurobindo gives a wonderful term to this. He calls it as uh, self-concentration of force and self-diffusion of force. And how does he give he gives an example also in Life Divine, example of Shiva and Kali. And we have read that famous statement of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa that a snake which is coiled in the ground is static. The moment it goes out, it slithers out, it is in a dynamic state. So, one is a state of concentration, another state of diffusion. So, when he takes the poise of diffusion, he gets diffused and he has got diffused into everybody and he has become us. It is we who are in bad shape, unable to contain him. So we spill him out. He spills out. He goes out. Not doesn't stay the way he wants to stay. He waits. He waits. Like Sri Krishna told Sri Aurobindo, wait and see. At Alipur jail, he asked for 3 days. He asked, what is this story? What is this nonsense you have done? He says, wait and see. 2 words Sri Krishna told him. So he then waited and stilled his mind. Because he stilled his mind, he could then develop what he needs to be developed. There is a wonderful line I would like to read out from Life Divine. He says that uh, this force that we talked about, its possibility initiating impulsion and impelling cause does not arise. So this question does not arise that how did the movement come out? For we can easily then conceive that this potentiality must translate itself either as an alternative rhythm of rest and movement, either this force should be in the rest or movement, or Sri Aurobindo paints another picture, it can be rest below and movement on the top, which is depicted by Shiva and Kali dancing on Shiva. That is another aspect. of depiction of that same story. So he says, eternal self, rhythm of rest and movement succeeding each other in time, or else as an eternal self concentration of four in the immutable existence with a superficial play of movement. This aspect Sri Krishna emphasizes in Bhagavad Gita. This aspect Sri Krishna emphasizes Paraprakriti Jiva Bhuta. He explains there in that this stance, the second one. So this is how it happens. So that which this force which is diffused and has become what it has become, obviously is delight, obviously is love, ananda. What is love? What is the relation between love and ananda? Sri Aurobindo says in Life Divine that ananda has three powers. Ananda has three powers. They are joy, beauty, and love. These are the three powers, and of so love is a power of ananda, and that power is active. That and Taittiriya Upanishad says that. All have studied Taittiriya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad said that Rasa Vaisaha, everything is ananda. Everything ananda. Take the ananda out, the whole thing will disappear. So we see that, and that is why in the second slide I had written there that the lover, divine lover, does not finally meet these lovers, two divine lovers. They don't finally meet somewhere. That the destined meeting place in Savitri is not just a place where the two lovers met. They were always together. That's the point. They were within each other all the time. And so they rediscovered themselves again in this particular figure of each other. If you remember, and if you have read in Krishna's death, when Krishna died, uh, various people were sent to various places to important people to communicate that Krishna has passed away, has left. So it was I think Arjuna who went to Radha to say that Krishna is no more. So when Radha heard this, Radha's reaction is extremely notable. Radha laughed and sat down on a stone and said, "Tell me, when did he go out from here? When did he leave Vrindavan? He has never left. What are you telling me?" Similarly, Uddhav also went somewhere. I think Uddhav went to the mother, Yashoda. So this message also, Radha's reaction was something superb in this sense. There's a Radha's devotion uh, is superb, but that is only devotee who is not mentioned in Bhagavatam because that cannot be described, perhaps. So, so it is the love that actually resides the divine that has come down and that is emerging And it has now come from that stone level to tree level to animal level to us. And we have disfigured that and made it into lust, desire, wanting more. That tendency to want more is also propelled by the factor that we want to be infinite. We want to be infinite. That is a secrecy that is within, and that secrecy is promoting us to want more. But then, at one stage, the greed overtakes us. So, thereafter, Savitri keeps on doing her sadhana, and we see that she does, and she knows now that Satyavati is going to die. Now, grief and death is entering Savitri, epic Savitri. Epic Savitri, grief and death at this stage is and in epic Savitri, grief and death is entering. See the classic style of Sri Aurobindo. After love has come, after love has come, death comes as a challenge. And so there is a combat, and Paruji will remember 22, 3 days back we were discussing this in our class in great details. That there is a combat in Savitri between love and grief. There is Satyavan, and she and he are in love, and she knows Satyavan is going to die. This is the state of this reading. And so, at one day, one Sri Aurobindo masterly has described that combat. This uh, between love and grief. Love and you are the internal disputes in the dispute. That is in the Canto 1, book 1, and issue, and the subject issue. Same thing is reappearing here. Same thing is reappearing here, and we have this combat coming in here. And slowly, who wins? There, in the eyes of Sri Aurobindo, in the epic, the grief becomes dull-eyed. You remember this terminology? It becomes dull-eyed, and love flames out. This is the so that how is that happening? Because of the yoga of Savitri. Because of yoga of Savitri. So, uh, and in Savitri, in this book, you will find Savitri's life is at times portrayed, picturized as you know dissuading the pilgrim in his pilgrimage. This has happened in the Christian literature. In the Christian literature, there is a beautiful place of beautiful poem called Pilgrimage. You must read that. Must read that. How very nicely, quite it can be aligned with our thinking. The pilgrim is going along the path. At every stage, there is an adverse force telling him to go back, telling him to go back. He defies that and goes forward. If you go to the internet, you will find plenty of pictures of depicting this also. So exactly like this, they dissuade. So similarly, we find Savitri at every stage has been dissuaded by death, by divine, by everybody. Don't go forward, don't go forward. And you know, uh, words like deathless conquered by death. These terms are in Savitri. Deathless, one who is deathless is conquered by death. These are the dissuasion that, as in that don't go forward, don't go forward, stop. Why are you going to the divine? And these objections to go forward, these barricades to go forward, becomes more challenging and insurmountable the more one climbs. It's like climbing the Himalayas, and the more you go, you feel more difficult to climb next step. Next step climbing itself becomes very difficult in the last stage, in the final run. And so it has been described by Sri Aurobindo as if the mother wants to keep the child tied to a knot, so that the child doesn't run away. Ignorance keeps us tied, so that the child does not go to the divine. This is how Sri Aurobindo tries to present to us also. So we see so we come to know, we realize that all things that exist are what they are as terms of existence, consciousness, and delight. Right. This inherent self-diffusive force of being, when individualized enough, this self-diffusive force of being, when individualized in us, life impulses to affirm its infinite place that we perceive as desire. When it is cabined within us, that love becomes a desire. Because the container that we are. So Sri Aurobindo says, in proportion as we recover our original possession of our absoluteness, to that extent we shall recover the self-delight. I will not feel the self-delight. Self-delight will not come in. In the book, Chota Book of Mother, in the first chapter itself, and also in the sixth chapter, it is written that the light will enter provided the darkness is withdrawn. So it is not that you switch on this light and you can see everything. It is that will not enter. It will not enter.
So the outward flowing energy, we have to hold them back.
Yeah. And also we have to also, like in the Sapta Chatushtha, in Siddhi Chatushtha aspect, in Sri Aurobindo says, Shuddhi and then Siddhi.
Yeah, that's just like the simple thing which applies to us is this first mixture. Diffusion is very that state that is diffusion force.
Yes. Very active. Drawing us out.
And now here he is providing that is affirming that the infinite bliss is consequently. So this is in proportion to recover our original possession of our absoluteness. For that,
correct.
Very important.
Yes.
That's really important.
That is the way we can move it. That is the way we can move it. So this unless that is why this line to love and oneness is to live. are so integral is these two terms. Its integralness, that they are totally one, is actually uh, uh, is the thing that Sri Aurobindo is trying to convey in the last page of Savitri. In this line is what I feel. I feel that this is every line, every page has got every master stroke, but this too is a master stroke. This too is a master stroke because he comes into the last page and a reply of Savitri to a sage, not the ordinary people who have accompanied the king, but a sage who is accompanied to his question because he will understand what is being said. So, very important statement of this. So, we find that uh, so next portion of this line that we read earlier is a wide moment of two souls that meet. She felt her being flow into him. This is what I was meaning earlier. She felt her being flow into him as in a wave a river pours into the mighty sea. It is said that when a river approaches the sea 40, 50 kilometers earlier to his merging into the sea, the river is afraid. River is afraid. The river came, say, from Ganges or so. It came from the Himalayas. And when it doesn't know the path, initially it doesn't know the path. It jumps out from the mountain top, does not knowing where it is dropping. What is that state of the river? It does not know where it is falling. It jumps out because I have to go to the almighty ocean. I have to go to the almighty ocean. So it jumps out. But the same very river, 50 kilometers short, is afraid that I lose my identity. I will lose my identity. If we read that book called Narmada Parikrama, in Narmada Parikrama, this aspect of the river has been felt by saints and has been described. What Narmada is feeling. Narmada has come from Shiva's sweat, like Ganga has come from Vishnu, fell on Shiva's jata and came out. Narmada is said to be the sweat of tapas of Shiva, and that is why you find so many saints. Their Tapabhumi is next to the Narmada, throughout the Narmada, along the banks. Where Sri Aurobindo has also gone. Yes, mostly survived. Mostly, almost all of the greatest of Shiva temples are along the banks of Narmada. Same Narmada. See, actually, this Narmada story is different. One day we can spend on that. Days we can spend on that. But then this Narmada, when it meets the ocean, the identity is continuing into the river, into the ocean. That muddy water, separation between this wall and all that, it continues for few miles inside. And then it completely merges. So this is how it is. It says, that is how Savitri is flowing into Satyavan. That river flowing into the mighty sea. As when a soul is merging into God to live in Him forever and know His joy. She wants to know the joy of Satyavan. Satyavan is what? Satyavan, who is the truth of being. Not ordinary person who is cutting tree here, cutting wood. Her consciousness grew aware of him alone. Her consciousness grew aware of him alone, and all her separate self was lost in his. This is this is the sense of oneness in a limited way at this stage. So Savitri has not begun her yoga yet. Savitri has not commenced her yoga yet. She has come to the yoga bhumi. Her Agni Kunda is still not lit. She has just arrived, and she has arrived in this state. In this state, she has arrived. So we find it is uh, what happens to Satyavan? What happens to Satyavan? Savitri doesn't talk much. Satyavan is more external. Satyavan has grown up in the nature. Satyavan's growth has been mostly in the nature, in the forest or outside in the kingdom and all that. So, uh, if Satyavan trained himself, and he has said that in the book, in the epic, he says that I have been communicating with the trees and the flowers and the animals in this forest. Since I'm communicating with them, I have a connection with them. I know the presence. I know the presence. Since he knows the presence, this this mutual attachment of Satyavan and Savitri can be rightly called devotion at this stage. Mutual devotion. And they were devotees of each other, like Shiva and Kali, Shiva and Parvati, mutual devotees of each other, that kind of a thing. Um, so when this love penetrates somebody uh, spiritually, when it invades somebody spiritually, this question of this transformation takes place. This transformation inside takes place. Are we crossing our time limits? Switched off the mobile now. 10 minutes. Okay. So
You should not hold it.
no, I don't think I can leave early. I, I've told that to Ajit that it is. I think it is out. So anyway, um, in the world of faith, we come across this again. I'm still in the first part now. Uh, when our friend Narad came and he was singing, there he sings Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. Whereas he came down, he started singing of other things because he's coming through all the Panchabhutas. All the Panchabhutas, as he comes from ether to matter, his language changes. His language also changes. So, but in spite of that, see these lines of the master. A mighty shudder of ecstasy. Ecstasy is ananda. Mighty shudder of ecstasy crept through the deep heart of the universe. Narad is coming for giving Diksha to Savitri so that she doesn't get persuaded by the mother. So, crept to the deep heart of universe, out of her matter's stupor, her mind's dream, she hoped, she looked upon God's unveiled face. So the matter also was getting excited. The days of my liberation is not very, very far or not abundant. It will happen, if not today, after 1,000 years or 10,000 years. So Narad was singing about love and truth, and we find the effect in the heart of the universe, and even the matter wakes up and sees the unveiled face of. This is what our uh, then Savitri does a yoga. Savitri initiates a yoga. Many voices come. She complains to those voices. She says, "You have taken away my strength." She tells the divine, "You have taken away my strength and given it to death. What the hell can I do at this stage? You're not giving me strength." She was despondent, like Arjuna was despondent. Why am I calling Arjuna? Because we're more familiar with Bhagavad Gita, maybe. So she also was despondent. You're giving my strength, you're taken away and give it to death. What can I do? And death throughout, about death has over 18 dialogues with Savitri, 18 times, non-ending dialogues, as you read. How shall the ideal tread earth's dolorous soil when life is only a labor and hope? He is persuading the pilgrim that you can't go. How can you go? A child of matter and by matter fed, a fire flaming low in the nature's grate, a wave that breaks upon the shore in time, a wave that breaks every time by death, a journey's toilsome trudge with death for goal, and avatars have lived and died in vain. All avatars have come and died and gone. What can you, little fellow, do? So, this path that you say, tell me to go forward, is actually in vain is seen the shining upward path. So, where does this oneness live? It lives deep within us. What is required? A unifying and harmonizing knowledge can alone find the way, but that knowledge belongs to a deeper principle of our being to which oneness and integrity are native. So, unless we come to that oneness, we cannot uh, do anything. So, we are uh, seeing that we have to uh, go forward only. So, Savitri, when she meets, so once death was conquered, and we know how death was conquered, what happened, the topaz wall, and all that we have studied. That is the most interesting part. Until this communication starts, rest previous part is the introduction to Savitri. Supreme granted four significant boons to Savitri. They were divine peace, oneness, strength, and love. See, all these in their whole form were combating with Savitri all this time. Were combating with Savitri. Now they have been granted to Savitri by the Divine Mother. And we find that uh, this ignorance cannot keep the divine love low, subdued, subjugated for very long time. And Mother describes in the agenda, not in the agenda, question answers, Mother describes what is divine love. Indications of it I have already given as regards the Holocaust aspect. But Mother says this Holocaust is the supreme of all self-giving, supreme of all self-giving. When is ordinary love, two persons fall in love, the first transaction of uh, is always seen as if a total self-giving, first transaction. But immediately thereafter, it puts on a different garb, different color, and different uh, color of commerce. I will love provided you love me. Provided you give me this, give me this, give me that. And otherwise, coming to a state that I will love you even if you don't love me is what is required. The way we love the blue sky, we don't expect anything back from the blue sky, but we love it. When you see the snow-capped mountains in the Himalayas, our we go closer to that. We go closer to that. So this is